Tern Heads event, everybody. We're here and we talk about career pathways, employability skills, and how to flourish in your first few years in the creative industry. So if you're looking for your first job or clients in the industry or looking to support or employ those who are, then our platform is for you. My name's Sam and we're here today to talk about how to grow your career as a freelance illustrator with our lovely special guest, Clare Davis.
It's me.
So if you find our content helpful and you wish to support what we do, then please tell your friends about us and sign up for free at turnheads.com for more resources. This workshop is being recorded and will be available on turnheads.com to watch back along with the slides. So without further ado, I will hand over to Clare to let her introduce herself and to share her tips from her career journey so far. Over to you, Clare.
Right, well, possibly it might come across we get a bit nervous when we do these types of things. So if I start looking down at my screen, you'll know why. And yes, I'm looking down at my screen already. So what can I say about me? I'm Clare. I'm a 50-year-old freelance illustrator. I have 4 children, varying in ages from 27 downwards. And all I've ever wanted to do is draw. My mother was not terribly impressed with that idea as I was growing up because I couldn't make a career out of it. She wanted me to go into English, but that didn't quite work out. And I have drawn ever since. I did an art foundation course and went to get into a degree, which I really wanted to do in Cambridge, and I didn't get in. So I had to go back to college and do some more portfolio work, which at that point turned into graphics. That's what I was quite interested in. So got my portfolio together and then came to High Wycombe in Buckinghamshire and did a degree in graphics and advertising, which at the time I loved. It was ideas based, you had a copywriter and you had somebody who was an art director. And it was great. But when I went into London and did my first work placement, it was awful. It was a dog-eat-dog world. And I realized that unless I was prepared to sell my soul and do things with people I shouldn't really be doing just to get up the ladder, I was not going to get anywhere. So we knocked that on the head and I set up a business with the Prince's Trust, nothing to do with illustration, and sold that 10 years down the line to another company. And then I went into greeting cards and my illustration spark happened again. So the whole 15 to 20 years that I spent doing something that I thought was going to make me money, I thought I was going to be a big shot in London, was a complete fallacy. And I should have done the illustration to start off with. But hey ho, that's how things work out. Life is what it is. You have a journey and it's great to look back on it, but you never know where it's going to take you as it's taken you. So that brings me to sort of where I am today as a freelance illustrator. I still draw an awful lot of greeting cards. I don't know if any of you have seen both my social handles, but I have another social handle called The Real Clare Davis, where you can see all my Christmas illustrations. And it's a good revenue stream. It's a very good revenue stream. So that's where we are at the moment. I'm also, we should say, I was going to say normal, but I don't think there's any such word as normal. I'm a regular or more commercial illustrator as well. But as we'll go through the slides and I will explain how I work as a freelance illustrator, because as I was saying to Sam earlier through the chat, there isn't just one path to grow your career as a freelance illustrator. When I sat down to answer this question, I was saying, do we mean grow it in terms of revenue, or do we mean grow it in terms of portfolio, or do we mean grow it in terms of self-worth because you've got into different publications that you can say in your portfolio? So I think I've tackled it from various angles, but I mean, you can be the judge of that. Anyway, Sam, put the first slide on. Here we go.
Yeah.
I think that's the last one.
Oh, sorry.
Don't worry. The reason why The reason I got Sam to do it was so I didn't mess it up. Okay,
Just get
so
out of the way.
how to grow your career as a freelance illustrator. Like I said, you know, it was a real difficult question when it came down to it, of how to answer that. And I think for me, there is a little bit of revenue stream, because at the end of the day, let's be honest, you know, you have to put food on the table and you have to pay bills. So that's really quite important. But I think it's also important that you grow as an individual illustrator. And by that, I mean your confidence, how your style develops, what you're putting in your portfolio, how you are trying to negotiate with clients, you know, whether you've gone down the licensing route or whether you've gone, it's just you and the cat and the computer, you know, in an office. And like I said, you know, the types of stuff that I've done won't necessarily suit other people. Sam, can we have the next slide, please?
Yep.
As I said, I went to Buckinghamshire New University and got a degree in graphics and advertising. And interestingly, actually, I've just seen this. I didn't do the illustration side. And by that, I mean, in year 2, you could do graphics and advertising, or you could do illustration. My God, some of the illustrators that they produced there were absolutely stunning. And I did not do it. And I don't know why. I should have done it. And like I said, when I got into London, it was dog eat dog, and it was just not for me. In a nutshell, that was we just covered the next 20 years. There were several children and a few relationships along the way. And then, Sam, if you put the next slide on, lockdown was quite a gear changer for me. I don't know how any of you guys have found it, but I think it allowed me to put the brakes on what I was doing, where my money was coming from, and where I wanted to go. And I'd always wanted to make illustration a career. I shouldn't have done the graphics and advertising, but as I said, you know, you make choices that at the time seemed quite sensible. And I think lockdown gave me an opportunity to say, right, F it, I'm gonna go and do it. I'm gonna do what I want to do, and that's that. Fortunately, I was in a position financially where my partner could support me. So what I decided to do was join Falmouth University and do their Masters in Illustration in lockdown, all online. We started this just before lockdown, and the whole course, as I said, is online. So when lockdown happened, it was not, it didn't change the way we interacted with the tutors or where we had lessons or anything like that, because it was all on screen anyway. And I graduated with I was quite pleased with this, distinction in illustration and visual arts. So yeah, I was really quite proud of myself for that. That was 2 years part-time, 2 years part-time, I think it was. Sam, can we have the next slide, please?
Yep.
So these are some of the clients that I've worked for. Now, they all look pretty good because we recognize some of their logos, but you know, don't forget, this is showing some of the decent stuff that I've done and some of the clients that I've worked with. So in growing my career as an illustrator, for me, possibly the way that you will get other clients is if you can get, it sounds terrible, doesn't it? But if you can get one logo that people recognize for a client, it gives other clients confidence in your work. They're not necessarily that fussed about your work, but it's like, oh, well, they've worked for John Lewis's. They must be pretty good. So we'll have them working for us. And I know that possibly might be a bit shallow, but I think sometimes it works, and sometimes you have to fake it till you make it. You know, the Pop Shop magazine, I'll let you into a secret, they don't pay for any of their work, and that's fine, but you get to be able to say that you're in their magazine. And they take cold submissions. They have a submissions page on their website, so get emailing. And they have writers that they publish their writing, but they don't pay them either. So the writers get to be able to say, oh, I'm a published author, and you can get to say, I'm a published illustrator. So they make money from selling the magazines. But if they had to pay you and me as a writer or a illustrator, they'd have no money at all. The next logo is my brother's company, and he wanted me to do some work for him for, he set up an educational program. And this is, it's called Pioneer Cadets. And that is the back, it's not very, you can't see it very well here, but it's the back of somebody's head with a rucksack on looking into the distance. It's an educational program very similar to Duke of Edinburgh, but obviously it's not on that skill level. It's more of an education level. John Lewis's, I've had some work published by John Lewis's for their greeting cards. I do get paid for that, I will say. Extinction Rebellion, again, that was free work, but I get to put that client in my portfolio. And Adobe Fresco, if I don't know how many of you use, excuse me, don't know how many of you use, oh bugger, what's the site called? Adobe, oh crap. No, it's not Bridge. I can't think, it will come to me. But anyway, there's a place where you can upload your work. Pants, it's completely slipped my mind. Anyway, and they can feature some of your work if you've used their particular iPad or computer programs, Adobe Photoshop or Illustrator or stuff like that.
Are you thinking Behance?
Yes, Behance. God, I knew it began with a B. Yes, sorry, Behance. And a couple of times they've picked up my work and had it featured at the top of the page, which was quite nice. That was really nice. And they send you a notification to say that you've been featured. So there's some of my clients. There are other clients in fields of education or greeting cards or illustrations that probably some of you wouldn't know. So there was not really much point putting those up. So that's some of the selected clients. Next slide, please, Sam. And here we are down here. What do I do? So growing your career hopefully means growing your revenue streams as well. But as we've just said in the other side, not necessarily. You might be doing it just to have your work published. So I do art licensing through an art agent. I do some illustration and art fairs. I do some skill sharing about practice and process. Lots of that's free, that skill sharing. I do quite a bit of it on Instagram as well. And as a cute pet dog, I do private commissions. I don't draw houses. I usually just draw pets. They're my diverse, I was about to say skill range, but it's got lots, as you all have, probably lots of skills. But there are some of the, subject matters and things that I do to help my career. Sam, can we have the next slide, please? And while we're on about growing, as I said before, how do you answer that question? How do you grow as an illustrator? So we've covered kind of how to get, those important company logos to build your bridges with. But, importantly, we're looking at revenue streams. So my main revenue stream, and I'll be totally honest with you, is through a property that I rent out through Airbnb. But that allows me to be able to create work with Clare Davis London, and it's the work that I want to create. It's illustrations I like drawing, and I get clients from work that I've enjoyed doing, as opposed to crap, what do people want me to draw? What do I think will sell? That pressure's been taken off me. And my other revenue stream is here for the real Clare Davis, is my art licensing work. And I've got a really great agent called Hannah from Creative Sparrow. If you want to go and have a look at her site, and she's pretty good at having submissions sent to her. She's not a great huge agency, so she's got the time to respond to you, with a thanks very much or no thanks, So that's one of the revenue streams. And then the other one is I'm a product designer for a company that I set up called Bottle Sock, and it's a product-based revenue. It does take a lot of money to get that particular thing off the ground, but I'm now starting to see revenue come in. So, I've got more than one egg in a basket, I should say here. I've got several baskets on the go. And for me, as a creative, I find that quite important. So to further your careers or your development as an illustrator, don't think that your portfolio should just be 2D based. If you want to go and paint ceramics because you found a really nice pattern that you've worked out in your sketchbook, then do it. It might make a nice vase. It might make a nice jumper or a rug or a greeting card. The thing about illustration is that when you go for art licensing, they call it, what do they call it? Copying, step and repeat. If you've come up with a good idea, and it's, I don't know, a cat with a lobster on its back or something, then it might look good on a greeting card with a funny pun line. It might also look good on a t-shirt. It might also look good on a vase or other ceramic wares. So, don't feel that you just have to be 2D. It doesn't have to be just flat artwork in your portfolio. Can we have the next slide, please? So, how to build revenue streams. Okay, the thing I have learned, as we've just seen in the last slide, is you have to diversify your income. And it might not necessarily be just from illustration. And that's fine. If you've got to go and get a job in Tesco's, other supermarkets are available, or a coffee shop, or you've got to go and help out in the local chip shop, that's life. That's one of those things. If illustration and art and design is your passion, then that's where you get your motivation from. The money thing is secondary. And I mean, like I said, I'm in a privileged position where I can say that. But that's where, for me personally, I think that's where you guys need to be. You need to be working towards that, where your passion becomes your job, because there's nothing better than making a career out of something that you really enjoy, rather than a career that you have to do because it earns you money. So here, as we were saying, how to diversify your income. You've got local fairs or art weeks. People in the UK, you possibly have art weeks where you are. They're really good things to get into. Okay, there's a bit of a financial outlay, and you produce the work and you put it up and people buy it, which is always nice. It's always nice to sell your work direct to the public. It's not necessarily getting clients as in, I want to go and draw for Airbnb or travel culture, or I want to get into the Elle magazine. Those types of clients, there's a particular way to get those types of clients, but we have to cover that in another Tern Heads. Showing your work in local cafes is a great way to get your confidence up and running about how you feel about your work, because generally it's free. They might charge you 10% commission, but most of the time they're quite happy to have something that's quite interesting on their walls. Okay, you've got to lay out a bit of money for materials, frames, but IKEA do really good, decent A4 frames. Get a simple portfolio together. I mean, obviously, well, I say obviously, but that really is quite important if you're sending out work to show people. We were talking about a particular set of clients. Well, I think we'll call them probably more corporate clients. Your portfolio has to sell you because they've got 10 other portfolios to look at. So, that's got to be key. I don't know how many of you know of a website called Issue, and that is spelt, I think, I'm rubbish at spelling. ISSW, W, not W as in were, but W, Issue. And it's what it is. It's a digital, that's it, Issue. It's a digital, not app, but a digital website you can use where you can produce flick books. So your potential client will be able to flick digitally through your book, and it looks really good. It's quite a smart piece of kit. But again, for clients like that, there's nothing better than getting a really nice postcard through the post addressed to them personally. But I asked myself after COVID, how many people go and work in an office now? So how do you find those people? where are we? Approach local companies and show them your work. Yeah, so you'll be looking at things like might be local hairdressers, it might be the local bakery, the garage, the pet shop. You know, when you're trying to start your career, those people will be a stable group to go and door knock, because they're just like you. They run their own business. They know what it's like, you know, and you can say, look, blah, 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 I can do it at mate rates. I can do this bit for free. I'm not suggesting do everything for free, you know, but it then allows you to work on live clients, you know, which you can then put in your portfolio, etc., etc. And then the last one on here is to build a passive income. And what do I mean by that? So I mean an income that's coming in without you having to do anything. So for me, Airbnb is a passive income, and my art licensing is passive because I've already done the work, and then sometimes I get paid royalties, or sometimes I get paid a flat fee. The royalties are passive because, especially in the States, you get those every quarter, and you haven't got to do anything. So let's get the next slide, please. So here is the lovely Hannah from Creative Sparrow. And like I said, she's really approachable. So if any of you are looking to go into art licensing for greeting cards, stationery, giftware, wrapping paper, I mean, most of that is 2D, then drop her a line. I think, Sam, am I right in thinking that you may or may not have spoken to her in the past?
I haven't spoken to her, but I think you've mentioned her in your previous
I
think that you did with us.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, there are other art licensing agents, which are just themselves and a couple of other people, you know, and if you follow their submissions guidelines correctly, they're generally okay in responding, you know, but sometimes it takes 2 or 3 emails to get through to them. So as I said here, most of my work comes through an agent. I've got commissions for greeting cards, licensing images for paper giftware. So by that, wrapping paper or gift bags. Yeah, you have to create lots of work for a portfolio. So you may have, we'll pluck a figure out the air, you might have 50 images on your portfolio page for your art license agent. But you may only license 3 or 4 of them. Actually, wouldn't probably have to produce 50 to get 3. So maybe 1 in 10, 2 in 10. You know, and obviously as you get more established and you understand what clients are looking for better and quicker, you know, what you produce, it becomes less effort and you get a better success rate. As I said, not all images sell, but it is a good passive income and it's commercial work. So licensing is a good way to go into trying to get, you know, a better portfolio together with more clients. Okay, next slide, please. Or you could go into wholesale. So what do I mean by that? Okay, I've written a few bits here. Produce products for shops to sell on your behalf. So some of you might know a local gift shop or greeting card shop that's down your road, somewhere in your town or your village. People like that, they have to try and compete with other big high street names. So they're always looking for something that's unique, or you don't sell to very many people, and they'll love you because of your story and your passion and what you're producing. So you produce the products, they mark it up, and it's not split the profits or anything like that. You have to be, and again, maybe Sam will cover this in another Tern Heads, but how to price up your work for wholesale is really important. If I just say one thing quickly, on greeting cards, the markup is 2.4%. So you get no, it's not 2.4% at all. It's 2.4 times, not percent. If your greeting card costs you 75p to produce, you times that by 2.4, and that's what you need to sell to the shops at, for them to be able to sell it for a profit. It's no good saying, oh, well, you know, I'm going to sell it to you at £2.99 and you can pay me £2.50, because it doesn't work like that. So you've got to know what you're doing about wholesale for the prices, is what I'm trying to say there. The downside is that you've got to invest in the stock, but paper products are best as they're inexpensive. You can hand produce all your greeting cards, and hand produced greeting cards are quite the thing now. You get to be your own boss, and that's what we were talking about before, step and repeat designs. So you might have a design that works really well on greeting cards that you can then transfer over to, you can hand paint it onto ceramics or glassware or something like that. So that's quite an interesting route to go down. Next slide, please, Dan. I don't know why I'm speaking like that. I'm just trying to pretend maybe there's somebody else in the room. Another way for a passive income, one of the biggest growth sectors to come pre-COVID is education and teaching. And if you've got something that is worth people watching, then you've got something that is worth people paying to watch. And how do you share your skill? Well, you can do social media teaching. You can share your skill set, as I said, on social media. People love watching what you do. I don't know how many of you scroll through people painting or stitching a rug or making jelly acrylics or some stuff, but it's a creative process that people like to watch. And you know, there's lots of people out there that aren't creative and they really value things like that. It doesn't matter if it's not perfect. There are a lot of people, oh yeah, that's what I just said, who literally can't even hold a pencil properly. By sharing for free, you will gain paid clients and you can teach. So possibly you can go over to, now I might get these mixed up with the peppers. Is it Patreon or Padron? Patron?
Patreon.
That one, not Padron. They are literally peppers. They are green peppers. So, you know, again, it's a bit of a confidence thing. That if you can draw, if you can hold a pencil properly and you create something, then you can pass that skill on to somebody else. There's no, you're no good, you haven't got the right qualifications. You've just got to do it. You know, if you're young enough to have that skill and the confidence level, just do it. Because people will cotton on to what you're doing, and they love, like I said, they love watching how-to videos, and you can monetize that. So Sam, I think we're coming to the end of the last slide, please. Yeah. How to grow as a freelance illustrator. Growing as a freelance illustrator means, I think, that you grow as a person as well. And creative people, we are a bit emotional. We're a bit emotional. We're a bit touchy-feely, not in a pervy way, but, you know, metaphorical way. And I think you do have a talent, and you have to remember that you've been given that talent by, you know, the person upstairs, or it's just come out of your fingers, whatever you believe and wherever you think it's come from. And it's a skill that you should enjoy, whether you make mistakes, whether your work's not very good, whether you've got a creative block. That's all just part of the process. That's what makes you special. That's what makes you unique. And as I'm going to read here, a skill is something that needs work. Just because you can draw doesn't mean to say that in 2 years' time you'll be doing the same thing. And by that, I mean, you might be drawing amazing, let's say, manga at the moment. But yeah, 2 years' time, 6 months' time, X amount of time later, your style might have changed. You might not be drawing manga. You might be drawing, I don't know, kingfishers or something. And that's not a problem. That just means that you're developing, you're exploring your talent. And that can only be a good thing. Keep them all in your sketchbooks. Do not take any pages out of your sketchbooks, because it gives you a really good roadmap to look back over and see how far you've come. Be kind to yourself. Try different media until you find something you like. Connect with lots of creative people. I think that's important, but be careful that you're not looking at the creative people and comparing yourself to them. And doesn't make you feel great about yourself. They're not the type of creative people I'm on about. I'm on about real people, you know, that you can pick up a phone to, or you can go meet for coffee, you know, those types of creative people. And don't be afraid to fail. This literally is where you learn the most. And yeah, like you, I'm just winging it. And I've just been doing that for a little bit longer than you have. And that's it. That's the end of the conversation.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Claire. There's been a few questions coming in. So I'll just go through the ones we've had coming in, but feel free to put any more in the chat, or if you want to use the hand emoji, if you want to unmute, feel free to do so. The first comment actually came in from Ben right at the start, so just wondered if you had any advice for him, really. He says, "Hi, I'm Ben. I've got some illustrations on my website," and he's shared his website, so everyone do go and have a look at his website and follow him and stuff. But I've never been able to make it a career, as I don't know where to start, and I've lost my confidence in my illustration style.
Ben, what's Ben's website?
It is Ben Scar. Scar is
SCARR.net. Ben, listen, don't lose your confidence. If you like doing it, then just keep doing it, because the only person, I can't bring up his website, so I can't, yeah, it's not allowing me to, what's the word? I will have a look in a minute though. I mean, yeah, advice to how to kickstart your career. I mean, I would first of all produce some of your work in prints. Okay, if you think about the smallest step you can do between you and a client, and that client will put corporate as the hardest ones to get, and we'll put Joe Blogg's street people as the easiest. You know, it's like I said, I don't know how close you live to a cafe, or maybe a library or an independent bookshop. You know, they really enjoy having wall art. So for me, I would go door knocking, and I would say, look, I've got some work. I would really like to put it on your wall, you know, with some little price tags on, and see how we go. You know, I'd love to cut you in for, I don't know, 20% or something, or 10%. But don't lose your confidence at all. If you really enjoy doing this, just keep doing it. I have days, actually, I've just come out of my dry spell. I did an Art Weeks program in May, and because I'm a commercial illustrator, lots of people said, oh, and they were digital illustrations as well. Lots of people came in and went, oh, is it digital? They were all old. I went, yes, you know, expecting some kind of conversation, and most of them just turned around and walked out. And there was a couple of comments that really permeated into my psyche, and my confidence level since May has done that, to the point where I had 3 weeks where I just didn't do anything. Nothing worked. I couldn't get past what had happened. So I did a load of greeting cards instead, and managed to sort of pull myself out that way. But my God, I hear you. But saying that, you've got to get back on the horse, and you've got to carry on. So I would get a few pieces of work together and go and show them, and see if you can get some up on a wall, because that's having that for people to see your work. Your work will take on a completely different life of its own, especially when you hear people talk about it. You know, it's really quite inspiring. So Ben, have a go at that. But, you know, if you've got any other questions and we've finished the session, then send Sam or me a DM, you know. So hope that helps, Ben.
Yeah, definitely. I kind of just wanted to add as well, because I picked up on, I kind of wrote this down quickly while you were talking, actually, because my friend Alice, so she used to work with me at the agency I work for in London, and she moved to Manchester, and she wanted to move from graphics to illustration, and she went into a local card and bookstore on sort of one of the high streets in Manchester, and she just asked to draw on their windows. She just drew like a huge V, and she streamed what she was doing on Instagram. She put her little Instagram handle down in the corner, And she had people coming up to her the whole time, chatting to her. And a lady actually came and asked if she does wall murals.
Oh, yeah.
Looking for something in her boardroom for her company. And since then, she's actually got some paid work to do the same thing for Bill's restaurant. She did all their Christmas windows and everything. So
yeah.
I think,
Well, I mean,
as you say, like putting yourself out there, doing those free pieces of work, but trying to get as much out of it as possible.
Yeah.
You know,
well, that's what we were saying about skill sharing. You know, if you skill share for free and you've got the confidence to be able to do it in public, people will come. I've got Ben's work up, actually. Ben, I mean, I think your work would suit greeting cards really well. You know, the Little White Lies guy here and the Obama guy. I don't recognize the one with the Oscars, but if they're the kind of people you can draw, they would work really well on greeting cards. Go and have a look in Scribbler, and go and have a look in Scribbler and look at their greeting cards. And for me, that's where I would go, and then look at how funny their pun cards are, because they would work really well. You know, especially the guy's face from Little White Lies could be, oh my God, you know, I've got you, I remembered it's your birthday and I've just got you this crap card or something. You know, they would work really well. So yeah.
Fantastic. Good luck, Ben. Do let us know how you get on. Casey's asking, what are the pros and cons that you've found having an agent?
Pros and cons. So the pros are she does all the work for you. The con, no, that sounds terrible. No, that's not a con. It's not a con. She clearly has to get paid for that. That's not a con. That is just the way it works. So she works on a commission. Some of the cons are, I would say, if you make that your only source of income, then you're limited to what work you can do because she is your only source of work. You would have to go and find, I think, for your own sanity, other forms of revenue, so that you're not just waiting for her to sell your work for you. Because, as I said before, you will produce 10 pieces of work and you might only sell 2 of them. You might sell none, and you've done all that work. But don't forget, you can rejig some of that work as well. So you know, you're not drawing everything from scratch. But I would say it's more pro than it is con, I think, if you found an agent.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. And Yumi is asking, are there any workstations built for illustrators? My parents' house is the best to work for my illustration, my traditional illustration, but storage is an issue. I've tried my local library, but they don't have obviously any sort of silent room space. So I've noticed as well, Katie Streeter's in the room. Maybe Katie can share in the chat. I don't know if you know, Katie, where Connie found her place in Brighton. But yeah, any kind of, I don't know if you know any sort of sites or kind of things to look for in terms of spaces for illustrators.
I think you would probably find them. I don't know how close you are to a city. You're more likely to find a creative workspace in a city. I would I'd go on Facebook and have a look for art studios, put in local art studios. Actually, you might as well just put it in Google as well and see what comes up. There's a place down the road from us called Ayers House, which is a creative workspace, but it takes somebody themselves who's creative to have that initiative to get a creative workspace together. I mean, I'm fairly sure there are no national creative workspaces because they're expensive. And of course, I don't know about you, but illustrators, creative people can be, I'm going to say it, can be incredibly flaky. Sometimes we're all a bit hit and miss, which is a bit of a shame because, you know, working with other creative people can really spark ideas. And you know, that's what I was saying earlier about being surrounded by creative people. I mean, I was just going to say if I could do something in my group chat, but without knowing where you are, I don't know. Where is she, Sam? Has she said where she is?
I think she said East London.
East London. My God, you must be falling over places in East London of creative spaces. I would have thought. I mean, London must have some through Phoenix in. Connie found her space through Phoenix. I've only got half a chat box here.
Oh yeah, Phoenix, Brighton.
Phoenix, Brighton. Yeah,
Oh,
I would definitely I would type in creative workspaces East London, and you are bound to find at least 3 or 4, you know.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, Yumi, let us know how you get on, and if you find anywhere as well, we'll share.
Yeah. If you find it near Oxford, let me know.
Yeah. Yeah, and thanks for that, Katie. Yeah, put you on the spot there, but thank you. Nimal is asking, for your portfolio, do you have a mix of commercial illustration and personal illustration? Do you have categories or just focus on specific niche styles only? I think you spoke before about like trends and things that you tap into as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of it depends on the client you're going to send your portfolio out to. So let's say I'm sending a portfolio out to a greeting card company. There's not really much point in me putting any stuff in there that isn't greeting card related, because it doesn't resonate with them. Whereas if I'm sending my portfolio out to somebody who's looking for logos, then if I put greeting cards in there, they're going to wonder why they're looking at a greeting card. So I think if you have a general body of work that you can then tailor specific to clients, I think that's possibly going to help, unless you're trying to get an agent. And if you're trying to get an agent, obviously, first of all, make sure it's the agent that you want to work with in the field you want to work with. So, greeting cards, 2D work, or step and repeat patterns, they'll be looking for a slight mix. So you may not have produced a greeting card in your life, but you've got designs that would suit greeting cards really well. So with Ben, there's a website called Creative Market who sell, and they're not very expensive in dollars, product mock-ups. So you can go on there and you can buy a product mock-up greeting card or a gift bag or a wrapping paper, and you can drop your designs in over the top. So if you do a product mock-up for an agent who puts work onto products like that, then they know that you know what you're talking about. So, going back to answer your question, the only thing I can say is make your portfolio slightly client specific. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it's kind of targeting it, and putting it into context, isn't it, for them?
Yeah,
that makes sense. Are there any apprenticeships in greeting card illustration, or is it a purely freelance kind of industry?
I think there's possibly greeting card internships or apprenticeships. I'm just trying to think. To be able to find them, what you'll have to do is type in greeting card companies, or wholesale greeting card companies. Put in wholesale greeting card companies, and door knock them. But do not door knock them if you haven't got anything that you think that resembles a greeting card in your portfolio, because they're not likely to spend their time. Well, I suppose that goes with any industry. They're not likely to spend their time and money in an internship for somebody who doesn't quite understand what they're doing. So do your research first on what makes a good greeting card. It's not a company, it's an organization called the Greeting Card Association, and they're short GCA, gca.com. And they've got a really good body of free resources you can go and have a look on. And you might be able to pick up some tips and tricks for them. But yeah, I'm sure if you door knocked and you went to a company, you may be able to do an internship for greeting cards. But lots of them are freelance since COVID. Lots of them shut their studios down. So yeah, you work from home now, really.
Fantastic. Oh, Nirmal's saying my general body of illustration work has hit 10,000 daily drawings, so might need some curation. Wow.
Oh, good luck with that one, as you can say. I'm not quite sure you're going to curate that. So that's 10,000 drawings in total.
Daily drawings. Yeah, that's like
10,000 daily drawings. Wow.
10,000, yes. So a drawing a day about what happens that day.
Okay.
perfect.
So go on, just explain to me how you've managed to hit 10,000. I don't.
I started it in 1996 and I've been doing it ever since. So
Yeah.
and I use the same exact format. So it's all very consistent in that way. But over time, like you were saying earlier on, the style changes.
Yeah.
The seasons affect what you draw. The news
course they
affects
do.
what you draw. So
Yeah. And would you agree it's good to look back on it?
Oh yes, yeah. You get so many ideas and things in there. I mean, in some ways, there's so much stuff there to look back and think, okay, for a surface design, I could just use April 29th of this year. But
yeah,
it's yes, it's in some ways just too much work really to try and scan in or something.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I can imagine it is. But yeah, no, you're right. You know, the sketchbooks, I think, for an illustrator are one of the most important things that we can have. Your mistakes or no mistakes in that book. You know, some of my stuff's absolutely shite in there. And some of it you look back 3-4 months later and go, oh, I know what I can do with that now, you know, like you. So yeah, well, congrats on that amount of illustrations. That's no mean feat, I think.
Yeah, that sounds great. I bet you could make a really interesting like animation or flip book out of that. For sure.
Yeah. There's loads of possibilities. Got to find the time.
Yeah.
The next question from Yumi: do you have any recommendations for online portfolio kind of web builders? I think she's used Wix before, but I don't know if you've had any experience with any others.
Yeah, so I use Squarespace for all of my portfolios, and it is a paid service. But I know Adobe, My Portfolio by Adobe. I don't know if you use their products like Illustrator and Photoshop, but I'm fairly sure they allow you a free portfolio site and how you can drop it in and stuff like that. There's different templates that you can use. And of course, they're coming from a design point of view for people who have portfolios. And they're really good. I don't know much about Wix, excuse me, I've got a bit of wind. Don't really know much about Wix, if I'm totally honest. I've got a general feeling that's a little bit more towards WordPress. So it's a little bit more sort of, the templates are quite static. Whereas I think with Squarespace and Shopify, to a certain extent, you can, they're templates, but they're more creative templates. I don't know if they do a free trial, Squarespace, but have a look for things with a free trial. But definitely go and have a look at Adobe. And I'm sure it's called myportfolio.adobe or adobe.myportfolio, something like that. But I'm fairly sure that's free.
Cool. What can I do in illustration involving my independent merchandise in greeting cards as entry level, from an entry level perspective?
Read that back to me again, Sam.
So she's starting out in independent merchandise in greeting cards. So I don't know if that's maybe gifting pieces and greeting cards. I guess that's how can she get in there? Maybe selling into shops, stores.
Yeah, what with greeting cards?
Mm-hmm.
So again, I mean, this is how I started. It is literally door knocking. So how people work in greeting cards is you have 6 or 12 designs in a range. You can probably get away with 6. Try and keep them within subject specific. So by that I mean they can be all open birthday. When I say open birthday, that is general birthday. So it doesn't have the word mum, sister, brother, uncle. It doesn't have anything on it. So you could buy it for your mum, sister, whatever, because most greeting cards are for females and they're bought by females, you know, so flowers and balloons and pastel colors and all that stuff are fine. So, you know, get 6 to 12 designs together. I don't know if you're digitally printing or whether you're buying flat stock and you're embellishing them over the top. I'm not quite sure how you're working. That will determine your price point, and then it will determine how you get them into shops. But people buy 6 cards at a time. So you're selling a pack of 6. Yeah. That's how people are used to buying them. You don't sell individual cards. So they always buy them in 6s, and you then have to produce them. So you have to think about how you're going to produce them. If they're digitally printed and all you've got to do is put an envelope in them and use, I mean, I've bloody screwed it up now, but people don't like cello bags anymore. They like those little sticky things, the peel and seal that look like that. Can you see that? Peel and seal. To keep the things, to keep the envelope. You're going to have to, you'll be sitting there at night putting those envelopes in, etc., etc. But literally get your first sample range together and start with one shop, invest the stock in one shop and put them in free of charge, you know, so put them in free of charge up front, which she'll pay for all the cards that she sells, or whoever owns the shop, you know. And start that way. Just start with one shop, build the relationship with one person and get your confidence from that. I'm not quite sure what you mean about other merchandise.
Sorry, she did clarify it is greeting cards.
It is greeting cards. Yeah. Start that way. Coffee shops are good. When you go into places that don't necessarily sell greeting cards, always have a think about how they're going to display the cards, because it's no good you going, well, I produce all these lovely cards, and they go, yeah, we'll buy them, and then they've got nothing to put them in. I'm just looking to see what I've got. I mean, IKEA sells some really nice little woven small boxes. You know, they're not very deep, and they're brilliant for people to just flip through the cards so that they can have a look. So just have a think about things like that. Otherwise, they don't get displayed properly. People don't see them. They get lost, they get damaged, nobody buys them. And then you've got to take all your stock out and you're left with stuff that you've paid for that you can't do anything with. So just have a little think about that. You want to make it as easy for the shop as possible, cafe, whoever it is. Yeah. But yeah, you know, greeting cards is a whole nother Tern Heads specific thing, I think. But yeah, if you've got any more questions, you can DM me on Instagram.
Yeah, and I would say to people as well, like if you look back on Claire's last Tern Heads event she did for us, you did go into quite a bit more detail on the greeting card side, I think.
Yeah.
So it might be worth watching that one back too. How do you balance work, life, and illustration without, or what do you do about burnout? Do you ever experience burnout?
Yes, we do burn out. And I think once you realize that burnout is starting, it is best to literally shut everything down, put everything away, and work out how else you can be creative without looking at sketchbooks and things like that. Because as I was saying earlier, we did that Arts Week, and those comments really got to me, and I couldn't look at anything. I had to put it all away. I picked up a book. I started to do some reading. I mean, I run anyway. Well, I'll say run. It's more like a jog, but I carried on doing that, and I started to do other projects. So my other business is, like I said, I make water bottle covers. Well, they're these, right, water bottle covers. So I spent more time doing some of that business. But I always said to myself, don't worry, it will pass. It's one of those things. And that's all you can say to yourself. And it will pass. Don't beat yourself up about it. Do some other stuff in the meantime and just move through that period. It still happens to me now, but you just have to move through it and then be a bit more balanced when you come out the other end of it.
For sure. What is Claire's opinion on the AOI, Association of Illustrators? Have you ever been a member of them? Or?
Yeah. I have been a member of them. I think it depends what you're looking to get out of it, really. I'm sure if you want to be if you're London based, I'm sure that there are more benefits that you can have than I could get from somebody who's on the remote end of it. Is it worth the money? I don't know. Possibly if you come into litigation or something like that with somebody who might say that you've copied their work, or you might find somebody who's copied your work. Possibly, yeah. Have I ever had any work from their portfolio site? No. I don't know. It might be beneficial. It might not. It's not a huge amount of money, is it? I can't remember how much it is now. But if you've not got much money and you haven't got many clients, probably don't spend the money on that at the moment.
Okay, thank you. It's 8 o'clock, so are there any other questions before we end? I think there was one just about your opinion on AI. I don't know if you have an opinion on AI.
Oh, well, that would be interesting, wouldn't it? I don't know how many of you ever try to use AI, but unless you've got, my daughter's been given, she's a graphic designer, she's been given oh my God, it's like a Excel spreadsheet thing for all the different variations that you can do for AI. And unless you've got an Excel spreadsheet, you know what you're doing. I mean, you'll end up painting headless chickens and some weird old shit that comes out of the AI. It's not very good. And I think the only people who will be able to do any good with it are creative people themselves. You know, good luck trying to design a logo with that, because it's not going to happen. There's some amazing stuff that comes out of it. Like I said, with people who know how to use it. My God, it's jaw-dropping. I think you'll see a lot of it in the fashion industry. And because the images I've been seeing are photographic, you know, I think that's where it comes into itself. But then again, if you can use a computer program to create an illustration, are you an illustrator? I don't know. I think part of the passion about being an illustrator is you can turn and go, I drew that. Whereas if you've just programmed something in, is it the same? I don't think you're going to get the same satisfaction. So, you know, we'll watch this space.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's a bit soulless at the moment. I know it's going to get better, more advanced, and I guess it could help you, you know, what you were saying about putting your illustrations into context on mock-ups and things like that. Might be a helpful tool for illustrators, maybe from that perspective. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see where things go in the next couple of years with it, for sure. Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much to everyone for joining us today. I'm going to end it now because I realise we've just gone over now. But yeah, thank you so much to Claire. I hope that you've all learned something new and this has been helpful for you. Again, if it has, please tell your friends, spread the word. We all kind of just do this, sharing our stories in the hope that it'll help out. So yeah, if you would want to come and share your story, then please get in touch with me through the Tern Heads platform. It's always great to hear stories from all people from all walks of life at every stage of their journey. So yeah, I really hope that this has been insightful and helpful. And yeah, thank you so much, Claire, for
you're welcome.
Your time and your insights. It's been some really good nuggets in there. So yeah, thank you so much, and we will see you at the next Tern Heads event.